All right. So, got Paul from Green Machine.
Correct.
Paul, you have obviously been speaking to and working a little bit with Tom, I think, over the summer.
Yep.
Trying to come up with a recipe to make a CBD beer.
Exactly.
And we've done it.
Yep, we're there now.
Yeah. But before we drink it, I think we should, find a little bit more about Green Machine, how it started, what it is,
Cool.
and maybe you can explain a little bit about the CBD that's in the beer.
Absolutely. So 4 or 5 years ago now, I don't quite remember the time, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And I was given several sort of predictions of where it might go. The worst one being you have about 6 months before you end up in a wheelchair. Obviously, when somebody tells you that, you sort of get motivated to not let that happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, in that instance, the clinical sort of pathway they wanted me to follow, I didn't quite agree with, so it wasn't something I was willing to take. A lot of drugs, 5, 6 different medications, spending 2 weeks every 2 months in the hospital, getting, kidney, biopsies, etc. So
Yeah.
looked into CBD, and long story short, ended up developing sort of the best blend for me.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I was interested in, was just for me. And then it turned into, hey, I heard that you were supposed to be in a wheelchair and you're using this stuff. Can I get some for my uncle?
Yeah.
Can I get some for this person? So we went, right, okay, we have something here. So we opened our first stores and then trialled it outside London. We thought, okay, we got something. Packed up, moved it all to London.
Yeah.
And that was 2.5 years ago now, and since then we've opened up 10 retail stores and we've got literally hundreds of thousands of customers across the whole of London.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, wild.
That is
Crazy
wild.
jo-
That is wild.
crazy journey.
I've been on the site, gummies, oils,
Anything you can put it
but
in,
not
basically.
but not beer.
But no one's done. People have tried a beer,
Yeah.
but it's actually technically very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And everybody, in my opinion, who's tried it so far, from having a deep understanding of this plant, they're doing something that is not necessarily going to translate to a really good product.
Yeah.
I've tried a good few out, and I was never really happy with it, and I sort of ended up through serendipity, let's say, just connecting with Tom.
Yeah.
And I says, look, what's the chances we can make this work? And then we started to put our heads together, good few drinks,
Yeah, yeah.
etc. And then we came up with the technology to build it, let's say.
I mean, it's awesome. I definitely think I was talking to Tom about beers that we tried with CBD in the past, and you're right, didn't have that, I guess, that magic. It felt a little bit disjointed, and it wasn't working from a taste perspective.
But
Anyway,
from every perspective, yeah.
regardless of CBD content or whatever, from a taste perspective, I was like, doesn't really work. But over the summer, I mean, I think we tried on 3 different beers: an IPA, a double IPA, and the triple.
Yeah.
And we dosed them to test, and Dipper was like
It works
the,
well.
the one.
Yeah.
Just enough sweetness to
a
hold
marriage.
it together, not too much to cover anything, but enough hops to sit alongside that CBD. We were blown away. The one we did for the festival, we loved.
Yeah.
We thought it was basically bang on and scaling up to a commercial product. We were really looking forward to getting this out, and it's come out
It's perfect.
it's
yeah.
come out brilliant.
I mean, there's a few reasons for that. So, the beer is top notch. That's the start of the product. You've
Yeah.
got to have that. If you don't have that, you don't have nothing.
Yeah.
And then the CBD that we add in comes in a format which gels really well with the beer. So the problem I've seen in a lot of instances with these CBD alcohol infusions is that
Yeah.
they're using either an isolated molecule, which your body starts to resist very, very quickly, and it has a plastic bag taste to it, which you need to then cover up. Or it's from an oil-based format where you get this sort of molecular separation. And so maybe the first neck of the beer you have, it's all the CBD, and then you wash it all down with the alcohol. There's loads of different technical problems I've seen with that. And so what we've got here is a nano-absorbing powder.
Okay.
So think about it like this. It's like, you've ever heard of fried ice cream?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, so fried ice cream, you dip the ice cream into batter, you fry it, but your ice cream is still cold, your batter is cooked.
Yeah.
It's a bit like how we sort of protect the CBD molecule. We've coated it in a batter, let's say, and it suspends and dissipates perfectly through any liquid. But even more so with beer, because there's some fat content in there, and hops are, can't remember the right word, but they like other fats to stick to them.
Yeah.
So you get a really nice emulsion across the board. You don't taste the CBD oil because it's wrapped in that wrapper. But as soon as that gets into the body, bypasses the stomach, survives all the digestive process, and the liver literally just goes, oh, what's this? Deconstructs that wrapper,
Yeah.
and dumps it right into the blood
Amazing.
immediately. And you get 10, 15, 20x the absorption that you would get from any other CBD product.
Amazing.
And that's what
And
that's what you're
and that's
feeling
why it
when-
works so well
Yeah,
in,
exactly.
in well, in a beer and a beer of this strength.
One guy, I had an email from somebody and he said it's like a religious experience in a can.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a literal testimonial.
I mean, I think after that testimonial, I think we should crack it. We should try it.
Absolutely,
right?
man. Absolutely.
Okay.
I've been waiting for this.
Yeah. I mean, when pre-dosing, I tried this beer from the tank, and I was like, okay,
It's a
right.
good beer
we
anyway.
got a monster of a beer anyway.
Yeah.
What will happen if we add the CBD? And I think I had a can yesterday. Like, I loved it. You know, the flavours all there, candied, sweetness,
Absolutely.
bit of booze. You got a bit of Idaho 7 for some black tea and stuff as well. But it just gels so well. And then, you know,
I mean,
you've had the can and
I love I just the aesthetic appeal. It's like you've milked an orange, you know, like it's like you've milked a cannabis orange or something like that. Like it just looks beautiful, it tastes beautiful, and well, here's to that. I suppose.
yeah, mate. Cheers.
Cheers.
So when you say that when it it's digested, are you saying that you might not necessarily taste it in the beer?
Personally, I'm unable to taste that compound any longer. Like I have no taste for it whatsoever any longer. But when you put it in with stuff, I can feel it. I can taste it in there, so I'm able to detect it because I have obviously take this stuff every day.
Yeah.
But I can't taste it in here.
So I do and did when we did the split batches and Tom was dosing the beers, and then we did it at different levels. I was like, okay, one is like overly CBD. So I think I used to use CBD
Oil?
droplets. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And it's got a super distinct flavour, and I definitely tasted it in the one that we used more in. And then we found the right recipe, or we found the right like sort of dosing, and I think I do get it, but it's sort of like it mingles in with that hop profile. So you got like,
Okay.
you know, it doesn't cover it. It just sits next to it alongside it. So
I don't have the most refined palate, I'm afraid. And I think that's pretty. Well, I mean, look, what can I say about that? But for me, I probably don't have enough experience as you to drink this because I guess you guys are just necking it
yeah, all the time.
constantly.
Yeah.
So for me, it's hard. I don't have that initial fuller experience with that product, but I do with mines, and I can say that even if you're saying you can taste it, I think it's because you have that relationship with the beer. But I've put this in so many things, man.
Yeah.
And I can always taste it, but I can't in this, so I don't know what that means. To be honest with you, but I think it's a good thing because if you say it sits next to it, then
Yeah.
I suppose what we've got there is something unique for the customer.
I think so. I think, and you know, people that love beer of this nature are definitely looking for nuance, looking for things that are different from
Yeah.
batch to batch and beer to beer, and you know that goes along with hop profiles, different hops, different flavors. Things become more apparent. I think, you know, definitely when people start trying it and talking to us about it, they might hit that nail on. Like, I can never really work out what CBD tastes like. I know it's always, you know, when I try the drop from, like, is it kind of like vegetal? Is it kind of like?
It's difficult.
It's
there's
a
a
strange
range,
experience.
actually.
It's medicinal as well. It tastes like,
It has a something to it. Yeah, I get what you mean.
but it's very hard to describe. But I feel like I taste it. Like maybe it's the
Look,
hops, but
I mean, you know, the thing is, I've drank a lot of this now with the CBD in it, and I feel I don't know what's going on, to be perfectly honest with you, from a biological standpoint, right? But there's a relationship that this beer and the CBD have together, which is quite unlike any other category of drink that I've ever tried. As you might know, CBD and alcohol combinations are massive in the States.
Yeah.
And I've been there and tried a lot of different alcohols with CBD in them, and personally, I've never had the effect that this delivers. It's for me, I've been telling people you've got to try this because it's like a whole new type of drunk.
yeah,
I've experimented on people I know that it takes them 5 pints to become happy.
Yeah.
Everybody knows a guy like that.
yeah.
You don't get a smile until they've had it 3 or 4 or 5 pints. I had one guy, a seasoned tradesman, giggling after half a can. He was like, "What is this? This is so bizarre. Like, I don't know how to feel. I'm somewhere in between, sort of having the effects of CBD and the alcohol." And
I think you're right. I think that's sort of the most fun part about this. Obviously, it's a very serious beer, and the effects are,
absolutely.
But really, like, cool, very different. After a can of a regular dipper, like, I love Double IPA, so you're gonna feel something anyway. But I think this felt like a little bit different, a little bit more. Yeah. I can't quite put my finger on it, but like, I really, 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 really like. I felt in a good place afterwards.
Absolutely. I don't know how I'm going to feel after 10, but that's another story, right?
Indeed. Absolutely, yeah.
But after 2 or 3, usually I don't know about anybody else, but I'm the type of guy. The first beer of the night is going to determine what the rest of the night looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
I might have one beer and then I go, right, I cannot be bothered going anywhere.
Yeah.
But time after time with this, during the testing, it's always been, right, I'm ready to go. I feel great right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's time to go outside. Although that's a bit restrictive sometimes with the current climate.
For sure.
But it does get you get up and go. And for me, it was a coin toss. Anytime I had an adult beverage, let's say after work, because that might just engage that sort of knackered side of me, and then I'm there, or then I'm sort of ready to go, or maybe I'm somewhere in the middle. But with this, it's a sort of really predictable. Every single time I had a good drink, I can. Yeah. I feel like I need to go somewhere. Like, I feel like I get that sort of energy, and that's where I feel where that's where it's so special for me, because I've never, as I said, with any previous alcohol CBD combinations, never really had that. And there's a giddiness. I don't know if it just makes me giggly or whatever, but it seems to be quite a common thing between people, that there is this sort of giddiness that people experience with it. But it's not from any psychotropic or psychoactive effects from the CBD, because it doesn't have that.
No.
So
I think that's an important distinction. I think a lot of people, when they talk about CBD, and we're in London and the UK, so it's quite switched on to CBD in a big way, actually. But some people still think like it's a drug or whatever. Like, is it weed or whatever? Like, it's not. No. Like, it's just not. So this has got no psychoactive properties.
Nothing.
So,
no punitive effects. No punitive effects from consuming CBD and sort of just going about your daily life. But obviously the key thing to remember here is that a lot of people will come to us and say, "Hey, I need CBD because I'm sick. I have this problem." We're not doctors. That's the first thing that we always tell people. Look, this is not supposed to be a cure for something. It's just a product that nature has given us, and we look at it from the pure perspective of a food supplement.
Yeah.
It's really important for the industry to, at large, the CBD industry, to make that distinction to people, because I'm a firm believer in not selling somebody any false hope.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing for our business. I think it's the only reason we've grown to the status that we have, because we are actually completely honest with the customer, and so I wouldn't sell this to anybody and say, "Oh, you get some health benefits," but it is very well established that it's an incredible anti-inflammatory, and it's one of the most powerful antioxidants on earth. And so, from a perspective where you're sort of damaging your liver a little bit, let's say, or you're punishing it, I wouldn't say it's damaging. I would say you're putting your liver to the test.
Something for sure. Yeah.
From an antioxidant standpoint and a free radical standpoint, you're also helping your body at the same time.
Yeah.
And from a perspective where you're bringing that inflammation profile down. A lot of people have problems with consumption of alcohol because it has such a severe inflammatory effect. So I hoped when we made this that this might give people a short path to get a nice level of drunk.
Yeah.
And then reduce that inflammatory profile, because it's sugars, obviously. Yeah. And there's no escaping that. Sugar's in everything. It's in every product ever, almost. So when I came to this, I thought, here's a great way to put a really cool spin on alcohol, but also, make that hangover much less impactful in the morning. Because in my experience, in my guinea pigs, human trials that I've been running secretly, that's been one of the other things that has been reported. People have 2-3 pints, and then they pints, they wake up and they say, "No, I felt great this morning, totally fine." So I
think that's obviously CBD is such a big thing in London especially, and there are definitely times in the past where it's come in forms or whatever. I'm like, is this just like snake oil, like sell or whatever, and then I'm like, does it work or whatever? It did work. Like the oils that I used to take, it did make me feel less anxious. It did make me sleep better. So I was like, okay, I think there's something in this. And then with your honesty and the way you talk about CBD, has made it quite clear that there's absolutely, like, when you get the product to the level and the quality that you have, it does something.
Absolutely.
And that should be respected. And that honesty, obviously you're saying you're not a doctor, you're not prescribing these things.
No.
They're things like a supplement to take alongside your life and just make.
Balanced diet,
For sure.
It's everything in moderation, including moderation itself.
Yeah, for sure.
I just literally, in touching on that, I just did literally an interview with Voltface, which is a massive medical cannabis advocacy platform in the UK, with direct links to parliamentary sort of discussion in this, and we had this very conversation about snake oil salesmen.
Yeah.
There is a huge amount of that in the industry, there's no question.
Yeah.
Our aim in the beginning was never to tackle that, it was just to make a really good product because I was selfish. I wanted to cure myself. I don't think I've done that, to be honest with you, but do I feel the effects of my condition, my disease? No. Does it prevent me or impede me from the daily activities of running the business? No, now I run 4. Now I got 4 CBD businesses in different areas, and actually I feel in a general sense of well-being now that I never even had without it.
Yeah.
So I think, sadly, my condition was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it put me on this path to create an incredible product, which now other people are getting massive value from, which is a completely unintended consequence of the situation.
But what a great.
But
I didn't think for one moment we'd have like a cool CBD beer released. I wouldn't even have imagined it was possible like this.
And one that, I can't say it does something, right? Now that's I'm not allowed to say that, but let's just leave it up to the
try
consumer.
it, enjoy it, and like
see how you feel.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm sure you're going to enjoy it for sure.
Oh, I enjoy it already. I'm sold.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cool. Thanks so much for coming down.
My pleasure, man.
Cheers, man.
Thank you very much for making such a great beer.
Absolutely. Cheers, man.